Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're well on this marvellous, marvellous Monday. You're looking marvellous. I hope you know. Marvellous. You must have had a very good weekend. I hope you did anyway. In this video, we're going to be talking briefly about the Idaho 4 case because, look, I looked at this article and I just thought, this is just the epitome of shite where we've got to now. I think it's got to the point where they are gaslighting people as much as they physically can, because I've never read such an amount of fucking drivel in my entire life. They're now claiming that Brian Kohberger could have done the entire crime in 90 seconds. 90 seconds, that's how he did it. So we're now saying that Brian Kohberger, you know, that fucking daft lanky twat who we've seen in the fucking prison footage, walking like fucking Sid the Sloth across his cell, like, I don't know, like Andy Dufresne walking in the yard in fucking Shawshank Redemption. If you know, you know. Do you know what I mean? And then we're now saying that he could have done the whole fucking thing in 90 seconds, like fucking Jackie Chan on a good day. There we go. Let's look. Fucking hell, mate. What are they talking about? Crime scene docs detail Brian Kohberger's path through the house. Murdering three. They're sleeping now. Definitely three of them fucking sleeping. And who was awake? Three victims. Three sleeping victims and who was awake. Idaho State Police used evidence found at the crime scene to recreate Brian Kohberger's path on the night of the murders. And this is the good bit. What you need to know. You need to know this. They've boxed it off and everything. They put a little graphic behind it. Make it 3D. 3D pop. 3D pop. Brian Kohberger entered 1122 King Road and made his way to the third floor, where he first checked the room of Katie Gonsalves, which was empty. How the fuck did they know that Katie Gonsalves' room was empty? And where the fucking hell was Murphy? Where was this dog? Can someone please explain to me where this dog was in all of this story? He then moved on to the room of Maddison Mogen, where he found both Mogen and Gonsalves sleeping and stabbed them both to death in bed. So who the fuck was screaming then? Who was screaming? Who was running up and down the fucking stairs? Who was downstairs? Who fucking Dylan thought was Katie Gonsalves, who was playing with Murphy downstairs and then went upstairs and seemingly screamed when she goes upstairs? I don't fucking understand what that part of the story is about anymore, but hold on, you need to know this. He could have carried out the killings in less than 3 minutes, the Idaho State Police determined, after recreating his path using the evidence from the crime scene, where they were in broad fucking daylight. Broad daylight. He entered into this, he left his car, got in the house, because he obviously knew it was going to be unlocked, and all the other doors were unlocked as well. And it says Brian Kohberger could have murdered all University of Idaho students in as little as 90 seconds. 90 fucking seconds. The Idaho, bearing in mind that at least two of these individuals were it like 50 times? You know what I'm saying? 50. I don't need to get too graphic, but 50 times. One hell of a fight, 50 times. Idaho State Police ascertained this after using crime scene evidence to piece together the route he took on the night of the killings from his car to the murder house and then back to his car. Like, I'd like to know how they knew what fucking route he took. How the fuck do they know what route he took and what room he went to first or whatever? Because there is no indication of anything between the rooms. The actual attacks themselves seem to be limited to the rooms. Now, I can only assume that they've obviously tested cross-contamination of DNA from body to body, which we covered many, many moons ago, where you attack one, you then go on to the next one, and you transfer DNA from that one into the wounds of this one, so on and so forth. But look, we've heard about multiple weapons potentially being used, and maybe that was going to later on explain why there was seemingly a break, because there was also notice of that perhaps certain people were attacked simultaneously, again with the suggestion of multiple weapons being used to explain that. Again, we never went to trial, so we don't know what that was about. But it says 3 of those victims were asleep when Kohberger attacked, but one was awake, according to the newly unsealed investigative documents which were obtained by people. I don't know what fucking people. They seem stupid fucking people. The ISP obtained video footage from cameras in the neighborhood, which showed that Koberger parked behind 1122 King Road in a small paved lot that overlooks residence at approximately 4:07 a.m. on the night of the murders. He then entered the home through the glass sliding door, or fucking did he? Because it seems that he may have now entered the property from the upper floor slider. But who knows? Who knows? And made his way through the kitchen to a set of stairs leading to the third floor, the ISP determined after reviewing evidence at the scene. I don't know what evidence that they saw. I genuinely don't know what evidence they saw. I can only imagine that the vast majority of their story is made up by the ever-changing story of the surviving roommates. Investigators believe, so they don't know, they just believe, that Koberger first looked in the room of Kaylee Gonsalves and upon seeing her bed empty, went down the hall to the other bedroom on that floor. So if it was just a case of going in rooms, why did he go into this room and go upstairs in the first place? Why didn't he just go into Dylan Mortenson's room, which would have been the first fucking door that he got to? It then raises the question as to why that didn't happen. Why did he go? He didn't. They didn't have to go upstairs. You're right, Steve. They didn't. But who knows? Went down the hall, the other bedroom on that floor. In that bedroom, he found Gonsalves and Maddison Mogen, 21, sleeping in bed together, according to the ISP. He then proceeded to kill them, basically, who were later found dead in that same bed. Gonsalves' injuries were so severe that she died almost immediately, but Mogen may have still been alive when Koberger left the room. That's an interesting one. So they're saying Maddison Mogen was likely still alive. So with this being said, and I'm asking the question, so are we saying that Maddison Mogen had injuries that had they have been attended to more rapidly, could she have survived? Because she obviously didn't die instantly, immediately. She obviously took a period of time. So how do we know what that period of time was? Can we think about it? Who knows? Who knows? I know it's graphic to think about. It's a bit of one of them. But for them to turn around, that's a big fucking statement to make, mate. Mogen may have still been alive when Koberger left the room. Why would you even say that? What would it's a strange one, that. Why Koberger left and what happened in that moment is still unclear, but what is known that after fatally injuring the first two victims, Koberger came across Xana Knodel. Right. So we're going down that route of her interrupting him and him leaving and chasing her round the fucking the beer pong table that is now miraculously gone into an area that could have rarely been used to block him off and save someone's life, but they all ran round it and didn't touch it, apparently. Later, County Prosecuting Attorney Bill Thompson said at Koberger's plea hearing that Koberger likely did not enter the house planning to kill 4 people and likely murdered Knodel after they crossed paths, or she caught him in the act. So while it is unknown if Koberger took the stairs back down to the second floor while exiting the home and then saw Knodel, or if she caught him and then he fled down the stairs after her, the ISP did determine that Koberger caught up to Knodel just as she entered her bedroom. Her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was attacked in his sleep and murdered in his bed, said the ISP. His injuries left him unable to move and render help to his girlfriend, which suggests that he might have been the third victim killed by Koberger. He would have left just Koberger. That would have left just Koberger and Knodel, who, unlike the other 3 victims, was wide awake as Koberger attacked and stabbed her. Which it's almost like they're trying to suggest that Brian Koberger gets Xana, probably does something to her that puts her on the floor, goes to Ethan, very strategically gives him a subclavian artery puncture, fucks him up, then attacks his legs again very strategically so he then can't move, incapacitates him, and then goes back to Xana Knodel, all while there's 2 other survivors in the house, 2 people in the house who have heard screams, heard pops. Almost, you could say, sounds like gunshots in this house. But nobody fucking does a thing. And you've now saying that Maddison Mogen as well was likely alive when Brian Kohberger left the room. So I'd be, if I was a parent of these victims, I would be fucking pissed, mate. Knodel was initially attacked just inside the bedroom near the entrance. Knodel fought the suspect in the bedroom area and was ultimately killed on the floor of the bedroom next to the bed. The Moscow Police Department recently released footage from a neighbor's security camera that picked up the sounds of a woman screaming and then whimpering just before 4:18 a.m. that day. There is then a loud thud followed by silence. The medical examiner would later reveal that Knodel was stabbed more than 50 times that night and had multiple defensive wounds covering her hands. After that, Kohberger walked back down the hall, across the living room and kitchen, and then out the sliding door, which he did not fully close. Along the way, he locked eyes with one of the surviving roommates and the lone eyewitness in the case, Dylan Mortensen. Kohberger then walked to his car and sped away from the scene shortly after 4:20. And then we look at how long did the killings take. Once the ISP was able to pull all these pieces in place and lay out Kohberger's path through the home that night, they began to do test runs so as to discover how long it would have taken Kohberger to murder his 4 victims. In each of these test runs, Gilbertson would start at the sliding door and retrace Kohberger's footsteps that night. When he reached the location where a victim was discovered, he would simulate the number of strikes each victim suffered that night before resuming his route. A detective assisted by standing by to count and keep track of each strike, while Corporal Brett Payne of the MPD, trustworthy, who note the probable cause affidavit in the case, timed the runs. The fastest was 90 seconds, while the slowest clocked in at 2 minutes and 33 seconds. The ISP next moved to the route Kohberger took after getting out of his car and walking to the residence that night. No evidence existed that allowed the ISP to definitively determine the route Kohberger took, so the decision was made to test run 2 options. The first path went through the backyard of the residence and was the most direct approach Kohberger would have taken from his parking spot to the home. The ISP put together a much longer route through a small patch of woods surrounding the property, which would have kept Kohberger hidden and avoided any large open spaces. Once these routes were set, the same 3 investigators resumed their roles and conducted timed runs. The results of these test runs were then combined with the results of the previous indoor test runs, which allowed the ISP to conclude that Kohberger could have exited his car, walked to the home, stabbed all 4 victims, and then back to his car in as little as 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Even if he took the longer, slower route, the ISP learned from the test runs that Kohberger would have needed just 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Kohberger spent far more time in the home that evening, entering at around 4:07 on November 13, 2022, being seen in his car driving away at 4:20 a.m. The longer time is likely due to the 2 unknowns in Kohberger's route, what happened in the time between Kohberger leaving Mogen's bedroom and getting to Knodel's room, and how hard Knodel fought her attacker. So we're basically, what we're seeing here is where there's a portion of people who will question the speed, the skill that would have been involved, the mental capacity for somebody to get out of their car. Now, don't get me. What you've got to think here is if you think Brian Kohberger was stalking this property, if you're someone who thinks he was stalking, the car wasn't behaving. The car that we're being told is Brian Kohberger's car isn't a car that seems to be driving or being driven with a purpose. It's driving around like it's lost and getting caught on every fucking camera it possibly can. So why he'd get out of the car and then think, well, fuck it, I'm going to go undercover, I don't know, because he's supposedly dressed all in black. His car's been caught on every camera fucking anyway, so he clearly doesn't care about the fucking car getting seen. But he's going to this property with a mindset that he doesn't know anything about it. Or does he know anything about it? I've said this multiple times. These law enforcement agents have to consider that he's acted apprehensive in the car, the driving around, fucking about. He's also seen people around the property as well, so he's obviously got to overcome that. He then goes to the house. He doesn't know whether the house is unlocked or not. So what does he do? Get to the house and try it just on the off chance that it is unlocked? Or does he do something else or get in somewhere else? Who fuck knows? But he's then got to maneuver his way around this house quietly, because you can hear as they're walking around doing the search of this property in that body cam footage that house is loud as fuck. But he's got to maneuver quietly. He goes they're saying he goes into one room, there's nobody in there, so he then goes to another room, goes in there, attacks these individuals. He's then apparently startled by someone and goes after them, dispatches them 2 people. He's walking, he's not in a rush because the eyewitness says they see him walking. So again, he's not really in any real rush. And then he gets out, and they're trying to say that he done all that in about 90 seconds. About 90 seconds. Or he could have done it in 90 seconds. But he actually did it in about the whole thing in about 6-7 minutes. I don't know. But my biggest takeaway from that is this article seeming to suggest that Dylan Mortensen, sorry, not Dylan Mortensen. Fuck, I'll get there in a minute. The other one, Maddison Mogen, was possibly alive when Brian Koberger left the room. So what does that tell you? Does that potentially tell you that if certain people had have made decisions to do things a lot quicker to help, to assist, someone may have survived? Who knows? I don't know. I'm not saying they will, but they said it. Let me know down below what you think. I'll catch you all in the next one.